Well, hello everyone, and welcome to a late for me, but not for our guest edition of the Missing Links post game podcast live stream, whatever it is. I'm your host Andrew Dukowitz. I cover the Lynx, Wolves, and Gophers for Zone Coverage, and today we got Hayden Cilley from ClutchPoints, Arizona, covering the Mercury, and I'm guessing he is having a little bit better of a night than a lot of our Lynx fans that are joining in here.
Yeah, I'm sorry to the Lynx fans that will flood the chat. I just want to apologize in advance. But yeah, it's a pretty big win. I thought the game was over at halftime, but clearly I don't play basketball because the Mercury had some different thoughts after halftime, and I cannot wait to get into this game and what the rest of the series looks like.
Yeah, I mean, let's talk about that a little bit because Lynx build up a 20-point lead just before halftime, and the first and second quarter just look exactly the same as the third and fourth quarter look. Nothing is really working, especially the second quarter. I mean, I think they scored just 13 points in the second quarter. Seemed like nothing was really working for the Mercury. They got Satu going a little bit, and then that got turned off almost immediately. AT was kind of struggling to get into her actions. And I mean, it really seemed like the Lynx had kind of figured them out. But then out of halftime, I mean, this was just a completely different Mercury team. What did you kind of notice was the big change that they made coming into that second half? Because it was like night and day, just in energy level, everything.
Yeah, I think one thing I always credit Minnesota with is Cheryl Reeve, in my mind, is still the best coach in the league. I don't think it's up for debate, if I'm being honest. And no, it's not. That's not just because you cover the Lynx. That's just from what I've seen. And it's weird because it feels like in the postseason, Minnesota just kind of like they unlock something that hasn't been seen in the regular season. They unlock matchups, and if it's cross matching, if it's pick and rolls, if a bunch of sort of like the nuts and bolts and a lot of those really finite things. I thought in that first half, they did a really good job of giving AT a different look every single time that she had the ball. Because one thing, I'm sure you've seen it, what they love to do, especially if Sammy Whitcomb is in the game, they'll have her as a screener because bigs usually call out the screen. They're not the one trying to fight over it. But luckily, when you're in Minnesota and you have Nafisa Collier, she knows exactly how to call out the screen and how to play it. And so I love this matchup of AT and Fee personally. I love the fact that two of the best in the league, two MVP candidates, are going at it every single possession. But I just think that in that second half, and it's weird because they've done this all season. They just find a way. And it can be anything. And they have a lot of players that can be that spark. Catherine Westfeld has been someone that I've been keeping my eye on all season. The numbers, I don't think, justify the impact that she brings. I have seen games where, especially in the New York series, where she'll come in, she might play 8 minutes, and she'll hit two really big threes. And that was kind of the case here. Like in that third quarter, like she hit a really big three, I think, I want to say with about 2 minutes or 60 seconds left in the third. And it really just kind of like, okay, like we got something here. And so players taking advantage of their minutes, that was certainly huge, but your stars really became stars, I would say. Yeah. They showed out. And sometimes talent wins. I think Minnesota, honestly, is a better team in terms of chemistry and coaching, but sometimes in sports, talent just wins. And I think that was kind of the case here. I think, AT will find a way to get a double-double. It feels like she could do it in her sleep, honestly. But when your teammates are making shots like they were today, that really helps because you have to focus. Okay, AT wants to score. Like obviously she wants to pass, but like if her teammates are hitting open shots, what are you going to do? Are you going to leave Satu open, who hit, I think, 5 threes tonight? Are you going to leave Sammy open, who's been, one of the best 3-point shooters ever since she came in the league? Or are you going to take the chance of just letting AT beat you with her scoring, which, she did that once this season against Minnesota in the regular season. So I thought it was just they came to life, I would say. There were just a lot of plays where people aren't gonna like this, but I just thought they just played harder. They just did.
Mhm.
And it's funny
I
because
take no exception to that.
yeah,
Like, I completely agree with you.
yeah, because a Cheryl Reeve coach team, they give effort. That's the thing, and that's never a question. And it just felt like something wasn't completely there. It felt like Phoenix had a counter for their punch, but Minnesota didn't have a counter for Phoenix's counter, so to speak. And so, yeah, I mean, it's a tale of two halves, I think is an understatement. But, sometimes talent does beat hard work. But when you have talent and you work hard, it's basically a combination for winning.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like, this has been a Lynx team that people that have followed the Lynx this season, they just do this sometimes. They blew a 20-point lead towards the end of the season to Seattle in a very similar way, where the wheels come off and it's almost like they just can't figure it out. Which third quarter, from what I saw, kind of being in the building, was just all of a sudden whether. And I love Nate Tibbetts, because after the game I asked him, like, was it a concerted scheme effort to just be more physical, or what was it? And he's like, honestly, we just played harder, which, like, all right, yeah, checks out.
That's
they did. But like, everything Courtney Williams was trying to do was all of a sudden hard. Jessica Shepard could not get a dribble down. It was just hard. They couldn't get the ball to Fee because the defense was just all over her. And it forced the Lynx into 8 turnovers. They had 4 turnovers in about 2.5 minutes in the third quarter. And a lot of their turnovers were just frustration turnovers, like throwing the ball out of bounds, not being able to get it across half court. And when that happens, for some reason, this Lynx team it's not like they give up, but they just kind of lose that swagger that they have. All of a sudden, Courtney's not talking as much. Fee isn't looking as dominant. K-Mac isn't getting, the screens where she's just wide open coming off of them. And Cheryl kind of said as much after the game. She just said, this team lost it. They couldn't get it back. Title of our pod, she said that the team was giving her a bunch of shit looks, a bunch of oh shit looks. That's kind of checks out of what it looked like. The one thing that really struck out for me, and you mentioned Westbeld, but Mercury's bench had 7 steals by themselves. They were all plus. Westbeld plus 15, Whitcomb 14, Bonner plus 6. They really capitalized on those minutes, and it seemed like Sammy especially just, the fear when you see Sammy come in, I would imagine for a Mercury fan, is like you look at her defensive prowess, and is she going to match up against a K-Mac or a Courtney Williams, especially in isolation? And tonight, she played her tail off. She was so physical with them. She was getting into it. When she got beat on an ISO, she was making sure they felt her on her back. That was just a wonderful performance by her all around. What did you feel came out of Sammy tonight, though?
I think it's something with the Aussies, man. They are tough. They are tough as nails. And I'm sure you've seen it with Alana Smith. I've certainly seen it. But there's just, I think she has the heart of a champion, Sammy. She's been in this situation before. She's told us so much throughout the season. I've really asked her, what does it take? What does it take to get there? And she mentioned sacrifice. And listen, there might be games where I hit 6 threes. There might be games where I can't hit anything. But one thing, and Nate Tibbetts has said this throughout the entire year, defense is the calling card. And that's the thing. I won't lie. I didn't think Sammy Whitcomb was as good of a defender as she was until I watched her this season. And it is impressive considering her body of work, considering her age. She does not, she doesn't play like someone that's been in the league for almost 10 years. She plays a lot like the rookies. She is fighting hard over screens. As you said, if she gets beat, she is bumping you. She's making you, she is making you feel her. But I just think
it seems very unpleasant to play against.
Yeah, no, she's tough. And it's funny because she won't really talk a lot, Like, she won't talk trash, but she's going to beat you up. She is going to wear you down. And it's been really cool because you have someone like Monica Koa-Makani who has been starting. And like, I won't lie, like Courtney Williams gave her some trouble. But Sammy comes in and is just literally beating her up. And the same thing happened last series against Sabrina. Like, there were times where Sab was just beating Mo to the spot, was getting, double or even triple screen. And Sammy is just fighting with everything she has to fight over the screen. But I think when you're AT, when you're Satu, when you're Ka, when you see someone like that is fighting that hard and you're not, you're like, okay, you know what? Let's turn it up a little bit. If we have our veteran who's literally, she's proven everything. Like, she has had a quality WNBA career, a fantastic international career. And if she's fighting over screens and she's, playing 20 minutes, we can fight over screens. We can play with a little bit more intensity. So I think sometimes she sets the tone, and it's like, the box score doesn't do justice for her. And but she sets that tone a lot. And when you are a champion, you know what it takes, and she obviously knows what it takes. So she is the one that can set the stage for what they need to do. If they're struggling.
Godfrey says in the chat here, OMG, what a nightmare. 100% just gave this game away. That's what we're talking about. Hayden, I'm going to throw us over to an ad read here quick, though. When we come back, I do want to talk about the last couple possessions in the fourth quarter, because, we don't really need to talk about overtime. It seemed like the Mercury just kind of stomped him in overtime. Like, the Lynx scored 4 points. It never seemed close. The energy was zapped out of the building in overtime. Got loud a couple times, but like, I'd like to talk about that fourth quarter with you. But first, ad read. Well, hello. Thank you, Livestream Andrew. This is Ad Read Andrew. And today we have Firehawk Construction and Remodeling, the presenting sponsor for the Missing Links podcast. Firehawk Construction and Remodeling strives to inspire people to follow their ideas, working with respect and understanding to create a quality, tailored result. Firehawk Construction and Remodeling, located in Blaine and serving in the North Metro area, is here to help you with your building and remodeling needs. I can say personally, thanks to Firehawk Construction and Remodeling, I have a beautiful deck in my backyard, and countless projects that I started, they finished. Get started on your new deck or remodel today by calling Isaac at 763-710-5686. Yeah, so the fourth quarter, I think for the majority of it, right? Like, Lynx enter the fourth quarter, lead has shrunk. You can kind of feel it a little bit of, man, they're letting go of this one. Really gets down to the nitty gritty. There's the 5-second call on BC Bridget Carlton. I'll be honest, as someone that was sitting there watching it, like, you gotta know time and situation. And Cheryl admitted to it after the game. BC has the green light to call a timeout, but that's also on her. Like, she's got to call a timeout faster. I did see quite a few people with stopwatches trying to say that, like, the 5-second call was fast. Even if it was, like, you call the timeout at 4 seconds. Game progresses a little bit more. Courtney Williams hits a couple huge free throws. And then again, in kind of perfect fashion, Nate Tibbetts calls 2 plays. Play call gets messed up somehow, it sounds like, and Sammy just hits this like massive 3 off of an offensive rebound. What did you kind of feel as those moments were going on? Was there a sense of confidence that, like, Mercury have this one? It's just the momentum has changed?
I will say in the fourth quarter, I won't lie, I didn't think they could. I thought they would have made it close. I didn't think they would have come back, because it's Minnesota. We've seen this movie before. Yeah. Like, even if they have given up a lead, I'm like, this is the playoffs, right? Like you're not gonna do that. Like they're gonna step it up. They're gonna bring back that intensity. And you said it best, Andrew. It just kind of fell flat. And you cannot do that against this Phoenix team. You can't do that against Alyssa Thomas, because if she smells blood in the water, she is like a shark. She's going to go at you, and she's going to keep going at you, and her teammates are going to keep going at you. And I give Satu Sabli a lot of credit, because she had a terrible game one, as we all saw. I saw it in the previous round, but like it just looks like her swagger's back. It looks like when she's out on the floor with AT, that like she feels like she's the best player on the floor, and she sometimes plays like it, and that's really impressive. But I would say like that, that ATO they ran, I don't even know what that was. I have seen them at the end of games before. They have given the ball to Sammy, and she's a fantastic 3-point shooter. I just wish sometimes you would let your star try to win the game. I understand, because you want to throw off the defense, and if I'm Cheryl Reeve, I know Sammy Whitcomb's a great 3-point shooter, but I'm not expecting her to get the last shot. I'm just not. Like I would expect Satu or Khan, not AT, because she might,
She's not going to shoot a 3. That might be like an actual sign of the apocalypse.
She might try and just throw it at the rim and make something happen. But I was more surprised. I've always been surprised about how candid Nate has been, and it definitely rubs people the wrong way. It sometimes rubs me the wrong way, because I'm like, dude, like there are just things you don't say. There are things you don't admit to. You don't have to admit that, hey, you know what? Like, I messed up. I didn't call the right play, because it kind of gives him a bad look. But also, that's how much love he has for his team and for his players. That he has said this multiple times. He's been like, there have been times where we'll just give AT the ball and just let her do something, and people question his coaching acumen, and I get that stuff, but I don't think you have the defensive team that you have, without him, because obviously, yes, AT is there. She's your cornerstone for defense, but like it's a team defense. It's not just, AT and everybody else. It's a team defense. Like people like Lexi Held and, Sammy and obviously Mo, like those are fantastic perimeter defenders. And so, I don't know what exactly happened towards the end of the game, but I think sometimes in that situation, I think you just kind of let it happen. I was really surprised that Minnesota didn't foul, because they had one to give. And Ryan Rucco on the broadcast was like, they have a foul to give. They have a foul to give. And guess what? They have a foul to give. And I'm like, that's really cool. I'm like, they're probably going to use it. I'm like, they're probably going to use. As soon as that first shot went up, I'm like, okay, they're going to get the board, and they're just going to wrap her up. Like they're going to wrap DB up. And when she kicked the ball back out, I'm like, they're not fouling. I'm like, what? Yeah. I'm like, really? And then Sammy got another shot, and I'm like, oh my, that's going in. Like, there are just sometimes a fun little story. I love sharing this to people that don't cover the Mercury. So inside of the Mercury practice facility, they have a chart. They actually track who shoots on what basket. Sammy Whitcomb, the playoffs started. You want to guess how many shots that she had? She led the team.
She spoiled it in the post game, so I can't guess.
Okay. Well, it was like last time I checked, it was like over 16,000. 16,000 shots, and this is for someone that has like I always give her flowers, because she's WNBL MVP, Finals MVP, 2-time champion. Like she has had an amazing career, and she doesn't have to work as hard, but she just does. And so, hard work pays off, and that's kind of what you see. But her teammates love her. Her teammates say, yeah, we see her practice these shots all the time. She had a cold stretch earlier in the season, and she's like, I got out of it. And that's, sometimes you're hot, sometimes you're cold, but looks like she probably hit the biggest shot of the season so far.
Yeah, first on the not fouling. I mean, I've covered Cheryl for 2 years now. Like, she fouls on that play
Yep.
every time. Like, that is, I am really hesitant to blame it on the players, because we asked Cheryl about it and she was like, "Yeah, I like to foul in that play, but I did not direct anyone to do it." So if she's not hollering from the sideline foul, I, it's hard to blame it on the players, but also, like, knowing covering Cheryl, and Cheryl, if you're listening on a plane, I'm sorry. Covering Cheryl, like, that's a place that she would foul 100 times out of 100. So I don't know if it was when that rebound came down, like, K-Mac and BC didn't like know the game situation, didn't know they had a foul to give. And then by the time it's back in Sammy's hands, I mean, she's doing this ridiculous, like, sidestep heave type of thing. Like, I don't know. And I asked K-Mac about it after the game too. She kind of said, we didn't want to foul a jump shooter. There wasn't a lot of time left. So it makes me think maybe they didn't know, like, game situation. But again, that's like completely speculative, because Cheryl Reeves, like, such a master of, like, preparing these players for every situation, that, like, is just a really weird play. Same with the 5-second violation. Like, that is such an uncharacteristic, like, Cheryl Reeve led team. And then the foul was just kind of another really weird, uncharacteristic thing. I think it just goes to show how almost, like, shell shocked this team was, that lead had given away, that they had given so many turnovers up, that they were in that situation. But yeah, it was certainly weird. Godfrey says in the chat here, Courtney Williams, 7 turnovers. She dribbles like she's on the Globetrotters. I will defend Courtney Williams and her dribbling style, because one of my favorite things covering the WNBA is that the AAU culture hasn't taken over yet. So you still have players that run full speed with their body, like, perfectly straight, and dribbling the ball up by the L of the Lynx on their chest. But yes, Courtney Williams in her fast break dribbling is ridiculous. But that's one of my favorite things. Like, people have weird, AT has a weird one-handed shot. Like, that's one of my favorite things.
It's not even a shot. It's like a AT. If you're listening, I'm sorry, but it's like a push.
Yeah,
it's a push. And the running gag is like, I mean, it's not a gag because it's true, but it's like she doesn't have shoulders. But I'm like, I mean, this is not normal. This is not normal. Like, but I mean, if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Yeah,
that's all I gotta say.
This was, what I will say is, this was one of the games where Rebecca says shot put. Yes, it looks like they're throwing a shot put.
Yes, no, that's what it feels like sometimes.
This was such a prototypical Courtney Williams game, where I think normally T would have been closing this game. I think this is one of the games where Courtney has the turnovers. She's kind of playing erratic. She's, especially in the fourth quarter, she was calling her own number, like, early in shot clocks. This is a game where Natisha Heidemann is usually subbed in. I unfortunately didn't get a chance to ask if, like, T is banged up, if she's 100%, if she's dealing with an illness. Because she only played 14 minutes, and it did not seem like a Natisha Heidemann game. And because of whatever reason it was that she wasn't in there, it just seemed like a game where Courtney was, these are the games that Courtney will lose. Game 1 is the game that Courtney completely can take it over, just mess everything up for a defense, and just win a game almost by herself. Game 2 is kind of the yin to the yang of Courtney Williams, where there are going to be some games where she has 7 turnovers and it just really goes flat. Couple of questions in the chat here. Fee didn't have the same aggression in the first half. She played amazing in the first half. Has a passiveness. Completely agree. Cheryl talks about it pretty frequently too, that there are moments and times where she has to really get on Fee to be assertive. I completely agree with it. I think in the third quarter, especially, she wasn't calling for the ball as much. She wasn't really kind of dictating the pace of the game. And I don't know if that's if she was calling for the ball, I don't know if that would have changed things. The Lynx, quite frankly, really struggled to even get the ball up the court. But yeah, I agree with you. Rebecca adds, "I love my AT. Don't get me wrong. It's we all know. Like it looks
Yeah.
like a shot put."
It's
JPEG, why were 3 starters sitting for half of the fourth? So this is me reading into it because Cheryl never mentions players by name when she's kind of coming down on them. But she mentioned specifically that there was a lot of bad body language and a lot of people that were like uncharacteristically not playing Lynx basketball. I think you can look at who wasn't in the fourth quarter and kind of assume those were the players she was talking about. That's me reading into it, though. I mean, it could have also been T, who I just said didn't really look right. It could have been her that had the bad body language, and that's why she didn't close. But that's just I think Cheryl was trying to stop the turnover bleeding, and extensively they, for all intents and purposes, they kind of did it going into overtime. But when you try and stop that kind of turnover bleeding, it's then you're having Jessica Shepard out there instead of Land, then you're having T out there instead of Bridget, and you're trying to go a little bit heavier that way. But Hayden, I'm going to throw us over to one more break, actually, because I'm a little behind here. When we come back, though, I'd love to get your thoughts on what you saw at Fee from the second half. And then I do want to hear your thoughts on like where this series can go now that it's going back to Arizona.
love it.
And we're back with another ad read. This time for Pence Homes, the presenting sponsor of Hitting the Hardwood Network. From the best tools and technology to transparency throughout the entire process, Nate Pence and the Pence Homes team is the top choice for buyers, sellers, and is proud to support you and your home ownership goals. Get started today by calling 612-308-1122 or by emailing info@pencehomes.com. JPEG, I would just add really quick to you questioning why sit them versus having a talk with them. Cheryl was having a lot of talks on the bench. I mean, she was going up to players, like getting down on one knee and like getting at their level, talking to them in timeouts. I mean, she would have Eric or Way draw plays and she was talking to certain players. I mean, she was really trying. I think that's why this game, yeah, I remember you having a comment on one of my posts of just like, it seemed like Cheryl was kind of deflecting blame after this one. One, Cheryl kind of, she expects what she expects from this team. Two, like she was really trying to get these people back on the right track. Like I think obviously when it's a game that you have a 20-point lead and you blow it, like some blame goes on the coach. I'm not going to sit here and say that she's blameless, but I do kind of agree with her. Like the Lynx players just did not look right. Hayden, though, what was your thoughts kind of after Fee's first half? What did you see from her kind of specifically, I guess, in the third and fourth quarter, or what the Mercury were doing to kind of get her out of the game?
I think you said it best earlier, Andrew. She can get really passive, and that has been the past 2 seasons. That has been my biggest critique of her. And like, I don't want to open any wounds, but like when it comes to the MVP discussion, I think that is something that people look for, because there are definitely times where, and we've all seen Fee take over, and when she takes over, like you can't stop her. She's a 3-level scorer and elite at all 3 levels. But there are times where, and I don't cover the Lynx, so correct me if I'm wrong on this, but like it feels like she wants what's best for the team sometimes, and that can be a detriment, because there are some times where you just got to go and get a bucket. Like basketball is a game of runs, and if your offense is stagnant, sometimes you just got to get the ball to your best player and make something happen. And I think that Fee can be too selfless in that regard, and try to get the offense going when like, hey, you are one of like the top 5 at least players in the league. you are elite at every level. You can make something happen. I remember there was a play, I think it was in the second quarter, I want to say, when Minnesota was on that big run, and AT was playing really good defense, and she was bumping and she was bumping, and she literally just bumped off and faded away and drained it. And I'm like, really, only Fee could do that. And
Yeah.
I just felt that in the third quarter, obviously the physicality is heightened. That's just the nature of the playoffs. Refs are going to let things go, and teams haven't like complained, but they've definitely been a bit subtle when talking about the frustration with the physicality. But for Fee, it's like they're going to pick her up 94 feet. If you're Alyssa Thomas, you are like, okay, like I'm not going to let you get anything. If you score on me, cool. And I love this comment right here. I do think sometimes she kind of forgets that she's the number one. And that's just because of how the Lynx play. I think they're so selfless and they want everybody to get theirs. But like, I remember the 2 games that Fee had against Phoenix last year, where I think does she have the record for the most points in 2 games by a WNBA player?
Sure
Right.
does.
And I watched those games. I was very bummed it didn't come back to Phoenix. I didn't think it would happen anyway, if I'm being honest. But I saw her do whatever she wanted. Granted, Nate had Natasha Cloud on her. Why would you do that? I don't know. But yeah, there are times where Fee just needs the ball. Just give her the ball and let her go to work. Let her get a foul. Let her attempt a mid-range shot. Let her post up, because we've seen what she can do. And I think that Phoenix definitely took advantage of that, of her being passive. And but they also shut everybody else out too. And that I think is really, really important, because when your best player becomes passive, okay, like they're kind of down right now. We can kind of pounce on them. And so that's just kind of, I think, their mentality. But I don't think, Stars don't have 2 bad back-to-back games, and I don't expect Fee to have a bad game 3. I actually kind of expect her to come into Phoenix and own the place, if I'm being honest, because I've seen her do it before. That's what great players do. But I think if Minnesota wants to put this series to bed, she's got to demand more. Like, she's got to be a little bit more selfish, because when she is selfish in the right way, which she is, the Lynx will win the game. There's no doubt about it in my mind.
It's been, at least since I've started covering, and this is my 2nd season covering them up close, like, it's been a talking point the entire time, is that Fee, I mean, she almost is like too, this is going to sound like really homery, but like, follow me on this. It's almost like she's too good of a decision maker. Like, making a bad basketball play like breaks her brain. So like, if she notices she's getting like too much cover in the paint and Courtney's trying to drive, she will just naturally get out of the way. Like, if she notices that they're doubling her on the catch and that she's not able to make a pass fast enough, she'll just naturally space instead of demand the ball. And Cheryl's talked about it a few times, of just like, sometimes Fee just has to make a bad play. Like, K-Mac makes bad plays, Courtney makes bad plays. Fee rarely ever makes mistakes. And part of that is she's like, I don't want to say passive, but she's like risk adverse. Like, she doesn't want to make a play that could cause a turnover or take a shot that's going to be a poor shot because for reasons. But you said it. I mean, she has Kobe's fadeaway. She has Tim Duncan's footwork. Like, she's this like hybrid, perfectly made post basketball player. But the last hump for her is that assertiveness. And I think some of it is just, her personality. She's a very selfless, like, team focused person. But also, maybe this is the growing pain that she needs, where I'm sure Cheryl is going to show her a lot of tape on the plane ride down there. and maybe that's what changes. Couple comments. Godfrey says play Masha more. Clue and Dakova, they got no answer for. I don't disagree with you.
They kind of don't.
But also, like, Masha, I will preface this by saying I really like Masha. She's one of my favorite people to talk to. But Masha also has like the irrational confidence that is just can win you a game and lose you a game. And she's launching shots early in the shot clock tonight. And that was, you know, she got six minutes, and I think that might have been why. But let's see here. Today, Minnesota misses Dejanay. I think so. I think this would have been a good Dejanay game because she is one of those players that just has a motor to go grab an offensive rebounding when things are falling apart. Rebecca, she needs to whip out a bad play once in a while to surprise the opponent because no one will see it coming. Yeah, that kind of is the logic.
That's
like,
so valid, though. That's true.
That's literally what Cheryl has to tell her because, like, yeah, if she doesn't pass out of the double and she just drives through it and throws up a shot, like, then people aren't sitting on passes. JPEG, interesting take on Fee. That's spot on. Yeah, it's one of those things. Like when you're around them all the time and you get to talk to Cheryl a lot, you know, it is what it is. I do think, you know, looking at this team and moving forward, and even the Mercury and moving forward, like if the Lynx end up making the finals and winning a championship, this will probably be the pivotal moment for them where they'll point back and be like, it was that Mercury game where they came back that we bonded together and rah, 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 right? And Hayden on the other side, the Mercury will probably be in a position where if they win a championship, they'll be sitting back and they'll be like, we were down 20 in Minneapolis and we came back and that was the moment. So, like, I think for one of these teams, this is a really pivotal moment. I feel like I've been kind of all season pretty bullish on the Lynx of like they are the statistically the best team in the league at everything. It's really hard to sit here and like bet against them. But this Mercury team punched them in the mouth tonight, and there hasn't been a lot of times the Lynx have been punched in the mouth. Like going back to Arizona, do you feel like what they did was like replicable, or do you feel like it was more of the Lynx just threw this game away? Because I'll be honest, I think what the Mercury did is replicable. Like AT post-ups where she's just getting the ball on the block in the third quarter and bullying. There you go. That's a really good offensive play every time. Sammy doing those drag screens, really good. Yeah. Like I think they did get some things to work.
Yeah, I think I mean, it's obviously not ideal for them to be down by 20 to do that again. The problem is that when they start the game cold, it's really tough to dig your way out of it. And I think you've said it the entire time we've been talking, and I think you touched on it perfectly, was that Minnesota just kind of beat themselves. And you want to take advantage of that, but also this is a really good team. This is a team that has been here before. They're likely not going to make those same mistakes again. But I think before I covered her, I thought AT was kind of like just bullish and brass, and I won't lie, I thought she was kind of overrated. But I've watched her in person and up close this season and have talked to her, and the attention that she gets on both sides of the ball is amazing. And I haven't seen a player in both the NBA and the WNBA that you know what she's going to do and you can't do anything about it. I think, though, that Phoenix needs to get off to a hotter start offensively. I think that Minnesota's defense is it's the best defense I've seen all year. Like I've watched every single team, and it doesn't come close. Like the team synergy, the way they switch, the way they can, switch and get back, the way that they're so versatile, yet physical, yet quick. It's amazing to see. So do I think something like this is replicable? Possibly. I think that they had a really good offensive game, which is huge for them. They shot the ball really well from three. Satu's been great. When she has the chance to, when she plays at her pace, I actually really think she's the X factor in this whole thing. Because remember, Minnesota, I don't think played against Satu at all this season, if I'm not mistaken. Or there were at least 2 matchups that they didn't play.
Yeah, and 2 they didn't have AT and 2 they didn't have Satu.
Yeah, and Satu, when she's confident and when that 3 ball has been sizzling like it has been the last 2 series, that puts a lot of pressure on your defense. And again, like I said earlier, that allows AT to kind of dictate the game, because you have shooters. Who are you gonna let them shoot you out of the game, or are you gonna let AT do her thing? But here's where I think Phoenix has the advantage. I think I want to word this correctly, but they have. I think that their emotions can win them this series. I think that. I think that this is where you miss Dejanay, because Dejanay will get in somebody's face. She will be ultra physical, and she'll be tough. Not to say nobody on Minnesota is, but when AT is tough, everybody else kind of feels.
Everyone in the chat will agree with you. Like Dejanay, everyone knows why we traded for Dejanay.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And by the way, good job for Cheryl and ownership for that trade, because that was, and I not like Diamond Miller, but that was kind of a steal. But I'll digress. But when AT is feeling it, it puts a pep in everybody's step. Everybody feels a couple inches taller. Everybody feels that they can do more, and that alone is huge. And I think that if AT is going to talk your ear off for 40 minutes, that's going to get annoying. And when your entire team starts talking for 40 minutes, like, how are you going to respond to that? And so that's kind of my question for Minnesota. They have obviously the stars. They have the role players. They have all the right pieces offensively, defensively. They have the best coach in the sport, I think. But, can you handle the emotional moments when sometimes you need to get in somebody's face, like when you need to dive for a loose ball, and when you need to make those hustle plays, and when you need to really lay it all out? Is Minnesota going to do that? And that's where I think Phoenix just beat them. They were ultra physical. They were just a step quicker in those things, and that's very atypical for Minnesota to do. But Minnesota's a great team. I don't expect that to be the case for the rest of the series. I kind of expect this to be kind of a 1-game blunder, but that's the beauty of a series. AT has said that. I feel like it's stuck in my head. I feel like I'm having dreams about that's the beauty of a series. That's the beauty of a series. Yep. Every game is different. But if Phoenix wins, it'll be because they're shooting, their physicality, but their emotional leadership. Because if they can let out a primal scream at the right time, if they can get on their players in the right way, that alone, when you have that talent, that's kind of a wrap, honestly.
Yeah, there was a moment where AT got in Fee's face.
Yep, I was going to bring that up.
The game.
Yeah,
and that was the moment that they traded for Dejanay. Like, this team doesn't really have anyone that's, and I want to be completely fair to Dejanay, because I have been so impressed by her as just like a person and like her basketball knowledge. Like, day one of media avail for her, she's like explaining to me the shell concept that Cheryl uses in defense, and it's like, oh, you're like a basketball genius. Like, you just understand this stuff. But when she's playing, she's kind of an asshole. And like, the Lynx kind of need that. Like, they don't have anyone that's willing to go and just shove AT in the back when she's doing that. And Dejanay's that player. Couple more chats I want to get through here. Mini Me says difference was one bench stepped up and the other Lynx didn't. Also, it is 2:31 in the morning wherever you're typing that for. Bless you for being in a live stream at 2:31 in the morning.
That's
because I will be 2 hours into my sleep at that point anyways. I will do you one better, Mini-Me. If you take Bridget Carlton and Datisha Heidemann, Jess Shepard, and Masha, they went 1 for 10 for a grand total of 5 points in 80 minutes of gameplay. That's insane. Like that
That's
cannot
nuts.
happen again
Yeah.
if the Lynx hope to win this series. There's a couple other ones. BC and T can't combine for 0. Again, completely agree. Up 25-45, thought it would be 2-0 going to Phoenix. Now it's 1-1 heading into Phoenix, 2 times at home. What I will say is I've again been kind of bullish on this of like, I thought it would be a 4-game series. Like the Lynx would take 2 at home. Phoenix would win by 30 in game 3 because the Lynx just do this. And then game 4, the Lynx would probably rally and come back. I think it's a 5-game series now. Like I do think Phoenix is way too resilient and proud of a team to lose 2 in a row at home. Like they're going to win one. I also feel the same way with the Lynx. Like this is too good and too proud of a group to lose 3 games in a row. They haven't done that all season, I don't think. I don't think they've done it all season. They lost 2 in a row. But like they're not going to lose 3 playoff games in a row. So like what this game has done is guaranteed a 5-game series, and like as a basketball enjoyer, I'm pumped. Like AT and Fee, give me another game of it. I think if I'm looking at it from kind of like you said, is this replicable? I think the attitude difference is a major swing. Like Satu, when she has it going, she's giving finger guns to the Lynx bench and like screaming in K-Mac's ear, hitting BC with a too small. Like that swagger fuels them. And like you said with AT, like when she's talking all game and has it going, and you can't stop her on the block, like that matters. For the Lynx on the other side of it, it's they have got here by playing this perfect blended team system. You got to keep playing it. I mean, you look at the bench shots, 3 shots off the bench for those 3. That can't happen. Like it just can't. If you're looking at like Lan, she went 6 of 9, and I want to say she had 11 out of her 13 points in the first half. That can't happen. Like you got to keep these players involved. Like if Lan is going to continue to get absolutely crushed on defense by AT and by Satu, you got to keep rewarding her with some offensive chances here. I think they just got away from playing their brand of basketball, and I really think it's credit to Phoenix. They just shell shocked them and punched them in the mouth. With that being said, though, what do you think the path is for Phoenix to win this? Do you think they need to win both of them at home and just kind of close the door? Or do you think there is a world where they come back game 5 in Minneapolis and kind of take that series if it does come back to Minnesota?
I think you try to shut the door. Minnesota's too good of a team to have any kind of opportunity for them to take advantage of. And again, like I said before, I think tonight was maybe the only instance of that. And those opportunities against those great of teams are a dime a dozen. Like they're very rare. The opportunity to take advantage of something like that is it's not normal. And if you're Phoenix, also, what better feel? And I love how you touched on pride because they play with a lot of it.
Yeah.
What better feeling for them than to go to the finals in front of your home crowd?
Yeah.
Like because they clinched the first, like they beat New York on the home court, and that place was as loud as it's been all year. Even with, even when the Fever came to town, and when Sophie Cunningham was back, and Caitlin Clark, and obviously like that game 3 was the loudest it had been. And in that game, they were just scrappy. And that's the beauty of playoff basketball. Nobody really cares about percentages. Nobody really cares about offensive efficiency. It's just about winning. And the beauty is that Phoenix has kind of been playing this way all year. Their style, I'm sure you've seen it. and you wrote about it as well. And which, by the way, for those in the chat that haven't checked out Andrew's piece, you really should. So, unshameless plug, because your work is incredible, my friend.
I appreciate it. I watched way too many Phoenix games in a very short amount of time to try and figure out who the heck they are.
Yeah. I will touch on this point super quick, because I've had family that have followed the W because I've been covering it. And I remember telling my dad, I'm like, because he asked me, he's like, what other teams besides Phoenix should I keep an eye on? I'm like, Minnesota. And he watched like 2 quarters. He watched a half. He's like, are they the best team in the league? I'm like, yeah. He's like, yeah. He's like, they played the most fundamental basketball I've seen in like 10 years. And I'm like,
ever.
Yeah. I'm like, that is what Shuri will do. But to get back to the original point, though, I would say that you want to have pride if you're Phoenix. You want to win in front of your home court. And the way they play is it's defense. Play tough on defense, because I give Nate crap all the time for rebounding. And he's like, well, we're 4th in the league in rebounding. But I'm like, your offensive rebounding percentages suck. But defensive percentages,
really bad.
Defensive percentages are like top 3, because they love to get the board and get out and go. And that's their bread and butter. And, we haven't seen a really good Kalia Copper game yet this series. I know It's only been 2 games, but it's going to happen. I have a feeling it's going to happen. And so but defense is their calling card, and it's won them so many games that they probably won 10 to 15 games, I would say, this year that they wouldn't have won last year. There's no way, because the defense has improved. The transition game has improved, and that's their bread and butter. If they hit threes, cool. But if they just want open threes, if they make them, cool. If they don't, fine. But their bread and butter is defense, and they have shown that they can beat a team by shooting 25% from 3 and just playing really, really tough defense. So if they continue to do that same thing, if Fee continues to remain a bit more passive than she usually is, and if the offense just looks kind of flat for Minnesota, Phoenix has a legitimate shot to win this thing. But you're facing a team that has more experience, more chemistry, and in my mind, no disrespect, Nate, but better coaching. And sometimes coaching wins. And that's why, as a basketball fan, I love it. I think this will be a 5-game series, but if you're Phoenix, you want to shut the door immediately.
Yo adds in the chat, noticed Fee taking a lot of threes. She attempted 8 3-point attempts. That I don't know if that's a Fee passive thing or if that's a Cheryl thing. Cheryl's been harping on her to take threes all season. So I mean,
I think efficiency
there were a couple that were kind of, weird, but it's one of those things where I would have almost taken a Fee 3 over a lot of the shots they were just kind of throwing up.
Yeah, I think also not to interrupt, but AT is so physical too. If Fee can even with some of the league's like best forwards, she can have her way. She can't really have her way with AT. I mean, she can, but it's just going to take a lot more work and a lot more effort. So, I mean, and she had some open looks that I saw that normally she hits. So I don't think 8 threes is necessarily a bad thing, considering she shot over 40% from 3 this year. I mean, there are definitely times, you would want to see her kind of, get a little bit dirty in the paint, but an open shot's an open shot. And if you're Fee, you can, 9 times out of 10, that's a made shot.
I mean, what I would add is this is kind of how it was last postseason too, where no disrespect to last year's Mercury, but the Lynx just kind of tore through them, and Fee was averaging more points than minutes after that first series. Then she ran into Connecticut, and AT has always just given her trouble. So I do think it makes sense to try and space the floor out a little bit more. I mean, now it's on Coach Reeve, though. I mean, it's her turn to make adjustments, her turn to try and figure out what the heck happened, emotionally with this team. And thankfully, we're at the point where playoffs, we are going to find all of this out. I mean, game 3 is going to be Friday. I'm excited that it's a series now. Like, I'm really excited that this thing can go 5. And it's, like I say, for one of these teams, this is going to be a moment that they point back to when they're on the podium, if they get to the podium, because that, for the Lynx, it could be a galvanizing thing of, like, that's when we learned we had to get serious. And for the Mercury, it could be, this is where we knew we could take anyone down. Hayden, though, I want to thank you for coming on. We're at 55 minutes,
Wow.
well past what I told you that we would go for.
Hey,
350 people have come through here to check it out after a Lynx loss at 11:30 Central. So I appreciate all of you. Hayden, anything you want to plug, though? Where can people find you? Where can people find your work?
Appreciate it. So on Twitter, it's just my first and last name, Hayden Cilley. I post basically everything Mercury stuff, but I also do Sun stuff. Funny enough, I have Sun's Media Day in about 12 hours, so that will be fun. I will need to go to bed soon and get my day started with that tomorrow. But yeah, mostly cover Mercury and Suns. I've done some past work with USA Basketball, a couple other local affiliates as well. And then I actually made a new Instagram. It's at Cilley, so Cilley reports. It's a public account, so just please don't flood me with hate mail. I don't need to see it. Like, I don't think I post anything that's too controversial. I'm like, here's what so and so player said, and if you want to get mad, you can get mad, but don't shoot the messenger. So, yeah, I mean, Twitter's or X, however you want to say it. That's sort of my main base of operation. But yeah, I mean, I'm a pretty easygoing guy. Any questions people have about the Merc or even W, just hit me up. I've been covering the league for 4 years, so there's a good amount of knowledge up here somehow.
Well, thank you again, Hayden. We'll definitely do this again. Maybe in the off season when no one knows who's going to be on what team.
Yeah.
But we'll do this again. I appreciate you coming on, man. And for all the Lynx fans, we'll be back. We'll be back tomorrow for anyone who hasn't left the feed yet. Mara Braun, the Gophers point guard, is going to be joining me for a one-off. We are not going to talk anything about the Gophers. I have told her we are just going to talk Lynx, because I feel like it gets really old talking about the Gophers or whatever team you're on. So hopefully we can find out where her fandom began, what she thinks of Courtney Williams, all that fun stuff. But until then, we'll catch you on Thursday, Wednesday, and Friday this week. Oh gosh, you're going to be so sick of me, everyone. Thanks for listening, though.